तस्मै श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथां विदान्तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Should I start the Gita Mata? गीतशास्त्रम् इदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् प्रयतः पुमान् विष्णुं पदम् अवाप्नोति भयशोकादिवर्जितः गीतध्यायानशीलस्य प्राणायामपरस्य च नैविशन्ति हि पापानि पूर्वजन्म कृतानि च मलनेमोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीतामृतस्नानं संसारमलनाशनम् गीता सुगीतकर्तव्या किं मन्ये शास्त्रविस्तरे यः स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मविनिश्चिता भारतामृतसर्वस्वं विष्णुवक् विनिश्चितं गीतगङ्गोदकं पीत्वा पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धगोपालनन्दन पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्र एकं शास्त्र देवकी पुत्र गीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मन्त्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्मापि तस्य देवस्य सेवा। Yes, I just want to start by saying thank you for this opportunity, like to present this chapter. Before also I presented this chapter, but like I thought it would be easy, but it's more confusing. So thank you for the chance to like study this chapter again and present it. I'll share.
I'll make you the co-host, yeah? 1 minute so that you can share the screen. You're able to?
Yes, ma'am. One minute. Uh, so I'm gonna start the chapter 3, Karma Yoga. And if there's any mistakes and if I'm missing any points, please forgive me. So this chapter, first we'll look at the uh, acronym that is used to represent this chapter. It's tree. So just like how a tree never expects anything, it just gives its fruits and its shelter. That's how Krishna is going to explain how we should do our work without any expectations of the result. So T stands for Tyaga, renunciation, which will be explained from verse 1 to 9. R stands for the rungs on the yoga ladder, which will be explained from the verses 10 to 16. E is for exemplary. He'll explain how a devotee will do work to set an example, and the verses 17 to 35. And E is for the enemy of soul and how we should conquer it. So, in the previous chapter, Krishna gives like a prelude of like the whole Bhagavad Gita. He covers many topics like Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga. So in this, from now on, he'll like give it in a he'll give like he'll tell about Karma Yoga in a more systematic matter. So like it's going to be easy for people who want to study the Bhagavad Gita. In 2.49, Krishna says, Duren hi avaram karma is like keep away all the abominable actions by doing devotion. So Arjuna, in this context, thinks that abominable activities is the war. So he's keep telling me to keep away from war, or is he telling me to fight? So that's how the chapter starts, and Krishna sees the solution for that. Even in like 2.71, Krishna says that like a sthita prajna attains peace. So Arjuna is might be confused that how can I attain peace while I am currently at war? So it's Krishna is actually talking about the inner peace, but Arjuna is he might be mistaking it for the outer peace. So that is the confusion, and that's how this chapter starts. This chapter starts by Arjuna saying, Vamishene Vakyena. You're saying two different things. So, Buddhi Mohasa Evami. Like, my intelligence is bewildered because you're telling me two different things to fight and not to fight. So, please, Tadekam Vada Nishyatyo. Please tell me one path which I can follow with certainty. So from verse 3, Krishna will be answering his question and tell him what path is best for him. So Krishna will describes that there are two people, Gyan Yogas, who like seek knowledge by experimentally like learning, and Karma Yogas who do like their prescribed duty. So actually, they're not different paths, but they're the steps of the same ladder, which Krishna will explain further. Uh, and in verse 4 to 9, he'll explain how that Nishkama Karma Yoga is the best path for Arjuna. Because in second chapter, he's like Karmanye Vadikaraste. Adhikara is right, but it also means eligibility. So that Arjuna's eligibility is to do work without being attached to the results. It's not of just renouncing his duty. So in these verses, he'll tell how Nishkama Karma Yoga is best for Arjuna. Yeah, and yes, so in the next verses he tells about what happens to different type of people who take up to renunciation and don't. So this chart is like something I made for myself to understand. So attached is someone who is like attached to the results of the fruits, and engaged and disengaged is engaged is he working, or disengaged is he did he renounce everything? Detached is he's not attached to the results of his karma. So in this we can see that when one is attached to the fruits and he's still disengaged and he's still not taking up to any work, then he's a fool or he's a mithyachari, he's a pretender. So, like yogis and all, there are many babas who have like renounced everything, but maybe through that position of a yogi or a baba, they're like trying to get power, religious power, control over people. like it's easy to influence people from our spiritual positions. So maybe they're attached to that power, so they're not actually detached from the results. That's why they're pretenders or mithyacharis. And people who think that they can renounce, but they're actually still attached, so they might renounce, but after a short period of time they'll realize they're still attached and they'll come back. So that's irresponsible or foolish. And the other type is they're attached and engaged. One is they don't follow the rules of Vedas or anything, so they're just committing sin. That's called vikarma. And then comes to detached. If one is detached and they're disengaged, then either they're a jnana yogi or a dhyana yogi, like which is going to be explained in chapters 13 to 18. In dhyana yoga is going to be explained in chapter 6. And if they're detached and engaged, they're either a karma yogi or a bhakti yogi. So they're doing nishkama karma yoga when they're detached and still doing their work. They're not attached to the results of the work, but they're still doing their work. Bhakti yogis, they're not attached to the results and they're attached to Krishna instead. So, and the last one is they're attached and they're engaged, but they're doing it according to the Vedas. So it's called Karma Kanda. So the next section is uh, the next section is how we can advance to karma kanda to karma yoga. So basically, karma kanda is in karma kanda, Krishna says that through the Vedic rules, they have to perform sacrifices and they can obtain what they want, and through that process, they'll like gradually be liberated. So karma kanda is basically to enjoy that your enjoyment depends on higher authority. Like we are living in a country, so we need to pay tax to the country to be in the country. Our family raises us, so we have some sort of responsibility to our family, to our community, to our country. Similarly, we have a responsibility to the universe also, which is providing us with everything we want. So one should follow that system, and through that system they can like go like progress in the yoga ladder. uh, it like Prabhupada explains that this system is very easy for like a bhakti yogi or someone who is in Krishna consciousness, because they are not only being detached from the results is hard, but when you have something to focus on and you keep Krishna in the center, it becomes easier. So when a devotee he goes from karma kanda to sakama karma yoga, then he's still doing what he wants, he still wants the results, but he understands that Krishna is in the middle of everything and he should offer the results to Krishna, even if he has a desire. And slowly he can go to Bhakti Yoga because he knows that is the ending stage. Because Krishna at the last he says, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja. So they don't stop at any level, they don't stop at Nishkama Karma Yoga, but they know that surrendering unto Krishna is the last step. It's just like we have to take we have to take stairs to reach our home, and we know that our home is at the end of the stairs. Then why would we stop anywhere in the middle? But if it's only stairs and we don't know where the end goal is, then we might like stop somewhere. But if we know that the end goal is a better place, then we won't stop. We will like, even if it's gradually, we'll climb all the stairs. So like that's a advantage of taking up Krishna consciousness. It gives you a faster track on these steps. There's a like Bhakti Vinoda Thakura says that just as a child knows he'll be protected by his parents, he doesn't expect, he doesn't know how the parents will protect him, but he still knows the parents will protect him. And that's the same way that a Krishna conscious person will know that the Krishna will give him everything that he needs, and he doesn't need to have any desire. So for a Krishna conscious person, it is easier to come to Nishkama Karma Yoga than a person who is not in Krishna consciousness. So that is the easier way, and we should, Prabhupada saying that we should all opt for that way. But also, if a person is not in Krishna consciousness, but he can still progress through this ladder. So Arjuna asked, like, if okay, I'm not going to, I'm not attached, but I'll just live in the forest and eat the fruits and all. So, but still, fruits and all is given by Krishna. So, you should, you should give it. You should, the cycle of sacrifice should be in a balance. So, you, whatever food you eat, it's given by Krishna. So, you have to, by the demigods, and the demigods are sanctioned by the Supreme Lord. So the living entity should give it back to the Supreme Lord. So in that way, like, even if one performs sacrifices, he can still like progress in this ladder. The example is like, if there's a farmer, he's not in Krishna consciousness, but he performs sacrifices and he follows the rules of the Vedas. So he'll be like, first when he does sacrifices, he'll be like, okay, I need good crop, I need prosperities, I need wealth, my son should be healthy. He'll wish for all these things. Then slowly he'll realize, okay, this is not permanent, this is temporary. So I should aim for heaven, going to Swarga. So he'll pray for that. He'll be like, okay, uh, he'll do sacrifices for Swarga. But then he'll hear that even Swarga has its own problems. There are many attacks that happen, and in Indraloka also. So, okay, he realized that's the whole material world is temporary, but like the soul is permanent. So he will like strive for some permanent goal. He'll want liberation or mukti or to become one with Brahman. He'll strive for some permanent goal. He'll identify himself as a transcendental being and he'll strive for some permanent goal. So he can advance towards at least Jnana Yoga. But that process is very hard. Many less people are able to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, and even less people are able to like go to the next step of Jnana Yoga, and then even less people are going able to go to the next step of Bhakti Yoga in that process. So like from the starting itself, if you are like Krishna centered, you understand that everything you do is for Krishna, then it is easier to cross the steps. The next section, okay, in this way, everyone can reach Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now you have reached Nishkama Karma Yoga in some way, then one might ask the question, okay, I am no longer attached to the fruits. Then why am I still working? Then Krishna says it is to set an example that uh, you still have to work to set an example because people will follow in your lead. If Arjuna did not fight the war and he just took like renunciation, he might be a great devotee, he has no attachment. But when we look at Mahabharata or something, okay, Arjuna ran away when his job got tough. When he had to go to war, he ran away because it got tough for him. He thought he was weak, so he ran away. That's what common people will start thinking. So to set an example that even when it's tough, that you still need to do your duty. He says in the next following verses, Krishna says that Janak Maharaj is another great example of Bhakti Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. Like he also had no attachment to anything. There was a story that once the Brahmanas asked Janaka Maharaj that, okay, how are you using your resources as a king and still not being attached to anything? So Janaka Maharaj calls them to a feast, and he calls all of them to a feast. And then when the Brahmanas arrive at the feast, they realize that there are swords hanging over them. Like there were so many varieties of things on the plate, but they were still so scared of the sword that when Janak Maharaj later asked them, okay, how was the food? They were like, we couldn't concentrate. We were just scared of the swords. So Janak Maharaj says like similarly, he, not of fear, but due to love for Krishna, he is not attached to any of the material opulences he has, but he still does his work to set an example. And Krishna himself says that he also he has, he's not under the three modes of nature. He has no reason to do any work, but he still does the work because foolish people cannot just, they'll just say we want to follow, we'll just follow Krishna and we'll imitate him. That's why Krishna himself also does work. And every time Krishna does any extraordinary things, it's not that he is breaking the rules of the Vedas, he's just doing it for the pleasure of his devotees. uh, Otherwise he does everything according to the Vedas to set an example for the common people to follow. Uh, and he says that if Krishna himself didn't follow the rules, then he would destroy the peace in the world and he would cause mayhem of people trying to imitate him. But then we can ask a question that, okay, he's Krishna, right? Why is he doing and showing? He can just instruct us on what to do. But when yeah, but the thing is, when Krishna instructs us, common people, our minds get bewildered. uh, we do not understand the instruction, so it's better for Krishna to do and show us. The next was uh, yeah, this is sloka na buddhi bedam janayad ajnananam karma sanginam josyat sarva karmani vidwan yukta samachara, so as not to disturb the minds of the ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duty. A learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities. So that's what Krishna is saying. Instead of just confusing them, just to tell them, okay, you should stop your work and you should just become a pure devotee, which is hard for common people to follow. They should like uh, put them into the activities for Krishna consciousness. Like if someone likes painting, you shouldn't tell, okay, just stop painting, just do bhakti. You can tell them to paint for Krishna's pleasure. Still, they're still doing what they want, but they're engaging, you're slowly helping them to engage in Krishna consciousness. So then, yeah, Krishna consciousness. So now Arjuna might have a doubt that even the ignorant man is doing his karma. He's attached to the fruits and he's doing his karma. And even the learned and wise men are doing their karma, even though they're detached. So how do you tell the difference between the both? So in the next verse, it says, Prakrita kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself as the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. So this is the difference between a ignorant man and a learned person. That the ignorant man thinks that he is doing everything. So I heard this example in a lecture that you're doing Ekadasi and all you can think about, okay, those people are eating. Today is Ekadasi. I'm a pure devotee. That's why I'm doing Ekadasi. You're not actually fasting. Your ego is feasting. So there is no use of doing bhakti like that when you think you're the doer. So that's the difference between an ignorant man and a learned person. A learned person is explained in the uh, in so yeah. In the next verse it says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhatma chetasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvara. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your work unto me with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims of proprietorship, and free from lethargy and fight. So this is a difference. The learned person realizes that he is not the doer, and he is he's just one of the factors in making a choice. And actually you have to submit all the results of all your works unto Krishna, and then perform Nishkama Karma Yoga. Do your duty without any uh, attachment to the result, and that's how you will be free from the bondage of karma. So in the next two verses, 31 and 33, Krishna says that what's the result of following his orders and what's the result of not obeying. So one who follows attains freedom from the bondage and gets liberated, and one who doesn't follow becomes befooled and ruined. So Arjuna, in the next section, he'll ask, yeah, and this what Krishna is telling in this sloka is actually performing bhakti yoga. Why bhakti yoga is better than jnana and karma yoga is that bhakti yoga has no like prerequisites. For karma yoga, it's okay if you're a bit impure, then you can slowly purify. And in Jnana Yoga, you need to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga and you need to have purity of heart. So, but Bhakti Yoga is for even for the most fallen of fallen can do Bhakti Yoga without any prerequisite. That's why Krishna like recommends Bhakti Yoga over Karma and Jnana Yoga. Uh, so Arjuna is like, okay, after listening to all of this, after listening to the result of what happens if you don't obey, one can think, okay, yeah, I'll follow Krishna's words. I'm motivated to do so. I will do my karma without any attraction or aversion. But it's like a short-term motivation. We they're not able to actually follow through sometimes. After a moment of time, they're back to doing what they did before. So Arjuna is asking, why does that happen? We all come from you itself. So why do we have that thing? So Krishna is saying that we should not like try to abandon our nature and desires. Like everyone acts according to their nature, and we should follow that everyone's daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratraya mamevaya prapadyante maya metam tarantyate. Everyone's under the three modes of nature. Everyone's nature is formed by the three modes, so you cannot just come out of it. So there are certain duties that are given to every person according to their nature. Even in the material world and even in the spiritual world, Guru gives everyone separate like duties to do. You might, yeah. So you shouldn't be like, okay, I saw the pujari, he's doing puja, he's doing deity decoration. I want to do that. Maybe you're not in that level of doing that. That's why Guru will like guide you according to your nature and will give you small duties that you can perform according to your nature. That's why Krishna says that it's very dangerous to do someone else's duty. And Arjuna asks that, okay, I don't want to do this, my duty of like war, because it's causing me raga and dvesha. It's causing me attraction and aversion. And Krishna is telling in verse number 34 that, okay, you should keep away from attraction and aversion. Like if someone is drinking alcohol, and after a while you will only refer to that person with by his nature of drinking alcohol, that his attraction is so strong that you only refer to him by his attraction. His whole personality to you is attraction. You should not let that happen. That's why you should control your senses for not letting that happen. So Arjuna asks, okay, I don't want to do war because it's causing me attraction and aversions. So Krishna is telling, oh, it's okay. even if you don't do your duty properly, don't try to do someone else's duty perfectly. That will cause you to fall down even further, because you will inherently revert back to your own nature. So the Mhm. Sorry, it went back. Yeah. So we should do it gradually according to our whatever our guru says and according to our capability. So the next Arjuna asks, okay, then why we even unwillingly doing bad things? So from verse 37 to 40, Krishna explains that lust is why we are doing bad things. So we might ask, okay, everything is originating from Krishna. So isn't lust also originating from Krishna? Then yeah, it is. Lust actually is love in uh, yeah, it is love. When it came back it in this world due to the material entanglement, it turned into lust, became twisted and became lust. Just like how milk, when it comes in contact with sour tamarind, it becomes curd. The love that Krishna gave us, it becomes lust. So when this lust is born out of passion, and after some time when you go into the mode of ignorance, it becomes anger, and then later it becomes into illusion. So Krishna also says that you can use this lust and anger to for Krishna's service. So your lust is actually turn it into love for Krishna, and your anger use it against people who blaspheme Krishna or Krishna consciousness. Uh, the next verse 38 shows that there are three degrees of covering of lust. These are the three examples. When fire is covered by smoke, that's a first degree of covering. It's very slight and you can overcome it very easily. Then the next is mirror and dust. It's a little more hard to like clean the mirror if it's full of dust. That's in animals, and the degree and chance of overcoming is medium. And then embryo and womb, it's like when the embryo inside the womb, it cannot move, it cannot, it's fully dark and it has no movement at all. So that is trees. It's the degree of lust is intense, and you there are very less chances of overcoming. So we have the best chance as human to overcome this, and they go back to Krishna consciousness. So in the next, it says the characteristics of lust. The lust, when it corrupts your soul, it makes you it makes you identify as a false ego. It makes you identify with your body, with your senses, even though you're the soul and you're not the body, and you're different from the body. Lust is never satisfied, Nitya Vairina. It's an eternal enemy. And the analogy is that no matter how much fuel you put into the fire will never go out. Just like, yeah. So you might think, okay, after I satisfy myself with this, I will no longer do this. But it's always going to keep coming. There's always more. So lust has like occupied three places strategically: the senses, Indriyani, mind, mana, intelligence, buddhi. So we have to like take back these three places first. That's how we can conquer lust. So, first, we should try regulating our senses, which is easier than controlling our mind and intelligence. But it's also important to keep our intelligence in the correct place. It's also important to like know why we are doing this in the first place. Intelligence is like the neighbor of the soul, is the bodyguard of the soul. So if we can't stop from corrupting the intelligence, then the soul also gets corrupted. And then below the soul is the intelligence, mind, senses, and matter. So all three of them are corrupted. So it's important to keep our intelligence in the right place, to keep it engaged in Krishna consciousness, and to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even if our senses are a bit attract like are very strong and we are not able to control them, if we control our mind, then the senses become like serpents. Even though serpents are venomous, but it's like serpents with broken fangs, so it cannot affect us anymore if our intelligence is placed in the right consciousness. So 3.43, evam buddhya param buddhva samsthavatmanam atmana jahistrum mahabhavo kama rupam durasadam. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence and thus by spiritual strength to conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So, Krishna is saying the only way to conquer our enemy is to be keep ourselves in Krishna consciousness. Bhakti yoga is the easiest way to keep ourselves to conquer this enemy lust. So that is the connection to the next chapter. So Krishna is saying through the Bhakti yoga, the transcendental knowledge, one can slowly elevate themselves to the next step, and he will further glorify the transcendental knowledge in the fourth chapter. Uh, I think I missed some points. That's why it's a bit short, but yeah. So please forgive me if I missed any points. I have a small quiz.
Haribol, thank you, Hasini. Very nicely spoken, in fact. In fact, this was so very natural because it was from your heart. And nothing was bookish. It is not that you have taken some slides from here and there and you have put here and there. No, it was entirely your own efforts and which was told in a very, very simple language. Very simple way to understand. Even any common person can understand this topic. That was how it was presented. Very nice, very wonderful, beautiful, wonderful. So, Haribol. Very nice. Very nicely taken through. Very, very happy about it, Hasini. So, anyone wants to ask any questions?
Prabhu, you're not audible. Ramakrishna Prabhu, you're not audible. We can't hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Hasini. First of all, I would like to appreciate your very wonderful and natural flow. And the command that you have on the subject, and especially the various sections, is something that's very, very laudable. And I just joined probably at the time when you were doing your 33rd verse. That was almost to the last 10 points that you had spoken. If you permit, I may ask a small question.
I don't know.
Okay. This is just for my own purification. You were saying that I was just looking at Madhavan and Radhita and other children who are now students who are going to be their professional career. And they decide, yes, it's my nature that I don't want to study. And so what will be the nature of their parents and their own professors? Because they will quote from Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, and say that nobody can change the original nature. So we would do what we want to do. So why are we being, tasked? So how do we actually like to face such a situation?
Can
I
you
know
be a
that
little louder? I think some people are not able to hear you. Can you be a little louder?
Is it better now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji, little
So,
better.
so how do one face a situation like this? They can quote Bhagavad Gita and they say that their nature is that they don't like studies, they are on their own. They would like to be all the time on their own games. So how can one correct that nature? What could be done? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm using the word wrongly, correct. How do we support that or we negate that? Madhavan is in full of smiles now.
Not sure, but like even if everyone has their own nature and even if they don't like study, everyone has their own special point. Like everyone has their own thing that they like to do. So as a guru or someone who's guiding them, you should be able to find that and like encourage them in that special point. And once like they're purified by bhakti, then they transcend above the three modes, then they're able to do anything. Like I'm not sure that's the correct way, but that's what I understood from it.
If I understand, Arjuna also expressed the same in his first chapter, saying that it's my nature that I can't fight with them. I just want to give up everything and go to the forest. But I think the Lord did something else. He tricked them. So how can one who knows Bhagavad Gita can trick such type of children or such type of young ones who think that they know their own nature? Is it really possible for anyone to identify their own nature?
Not sure, but like Krishna says to Arjuna that don't think about your result, and then it's you cannot do anyone else's duty perfectly. That would create an imbalance. So even if you don't want to do, just do your own duty. Don't think about the result. Like surrender unto me, and I'll take care about the result. So, I mean,
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any others who would like to share? Thank you, Hasini, for that. Yes,
Prabhuji wants to say. Raviteja Prabhuji wants to say something.
Yes.
Raviteja Prabhuji has raised a hand.
Definitely, yes, he should say.
Hare Krishna. Seeing you all people in this platform, I am very happy. Thanks to Ramakrishna Prabhu and Sachi Mataji. From long time, they're backing up you all people and keeping Krishna in center. They're keeping you all in connected. So please continue this and yesterday's class, they told higher taste. They're trying to teach you the higher taste and they're making practice to make interest in higher taste. Please take this opportunity and their desire a victory flag has to fly. So my generation, next your generation. So in this paramparic success of these different people and all, somewhere or other, definitely the victory flag will fly to the more heights. And thank God, Hasni, you have taken up this chance with courageously and you have come up. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And thanks your friends also. Tulsi Gopi, Lakshmi, Radhita, Madhav, and all the beautiful grandchildren of Ramakrishna Prabhu and Sachi Mataji. Hare Krishna. My doubt was actually it is just similar like Ramakrishna Prabhu's doubt. I have to tell one practical my experience. When all the people are doing all good kirtans and bhajan, Asani was very much keen in the studies. Sri Lakshmi's father, he has read me this 3.26. So people, anybody is doing some work, let them keep on doing that. The 3.26 is there. Na? Can you please explain me how the people doing some work how we can make them to divert to bhakti. That can you please explain 26, 27 and that series of slokas? Can you please, we can do, otherwise no problem. If you have time, you.
In like verse 26, Krishna just says like, don't try to tell them to take renunciation or anything, stop doing what they want to do. Just engage or turn the focus to Krishna consciousness. So like through that they'll gradually develop in the Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Asni. Thank you. Thanks a lot. It is our fault if you have not become a Kirtanist or dancer. But whatever field you are in, you please keep high in that field. Ramakrishna Prabhu, Sachi Mata, everybody's blessings will be there. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Any other questions from any other young ones in the class today? At least all those who are going to take these sessions, they should have some question to ask to their counterpart preachers, so that that becomes an inspiration for them to also speak, and also a contribution of acknowledging that you are in the class and you're also participating and doing a great service. Okay, Radhita, Tulsi, Gopi, Madhava, you can share a comment or you can share a question. Yes, Tulsi, Gopi.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I personally love the class. I don't have any questions. I just want to appreciate Hasini for what she has done. It was a very wonderful class, and like Sachimata said, it was the flow was very easy. Like it was as if she was saying it. She like has realized what she had to present, and she very easily presented it for us to understand it also very easily. And I personally love the point which she said that during Ekadashi, if you fast and you're thinking that the other person is not fasting, so I'm better than them, you're not actually feasting, but you're not fasting, but you're feasting your ego. So I love that point personally. Thank you, Hasni, for sharing. Thank you for presenting this chapter very wonderfully. It was very nice to listen from you. It was very nice to understand what Krishna was telling Arjuna and how to um, whatever you are good at, you need to do that, and it was very practical also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tulsi Gopi, for the wonderful comments. Very, very encouraging comments and very, very wonderful comments that you have given to your dear friend. I'm very happy about that. Very happy.
Radhita, Madhavan, anything from your
Hare
side?
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, first of all, Hasini, amazing class. It was a really smooth flow, as Tulsi said. And I also like the Ekadashi example that you gave. My comment was that Prabhuji had asked the question about how people will say that, like, especially like for students, the example that you gave, that it is not in my nature to study, so why should I do so? True, but please correct me if I am wrong. But my interpretation is that as all jivas, our true nature is to serve the Lord. So anything that facilitates that, for example, getting a good degree to find a good job so that we can do our devotional service without much hindrance, that is also facilitating our true nature. So an excuse saying that studying is not my true nature won't work in that way. So am I correct in thinking like this? Or
Well, wonderful. You really put into the ball in the right place. This is exactly what is needed to be done. We might not be able to identify our nature, but actually we must do for our eternal nature, which is to serve Krishna. Whatever efforts, whatever directions, whatever kind of a focus that we can do and bring it to that point, it's good. Say, for example, I don't like to study much, but maybe I'm a good artist. So I would like to use my art in the service to bring in, like, for example, in next 2 days' time, you're going to have the Mahavatar Narasimha released by one of the devotees who is a disciple of His Holiness Loknath Swami Maharaj. And so he made an effort from his skills with everything that he could do to present this wonderful Krishna consciousness way of doing it. So we can at least identify our inclinations, and if those inclinations can be aligned with our true nature of service to Krishna, then gradually such kind of a refinement will happen. And in the course, automatically you will also do a good study, because to continue to be excelling in your own nature, you also have to study. So automatically that aligned study will come into place. For example, you might not like to study accounts, but you might like to do engineering. So engineering is also a place in which how you can build TOVP temples, you can bring up beautiful multiple projects which could be used. So there also you are doing your study according to aligning that nature. So that is also perfectly fine. So one may not be able to actually identify his own nature, but if he's keeping, like for example, in today's world, you have GPS, but if you don't have a GPS, if you want to travel, how the previous people used to travel, they used to only look at the stars and look at the sun, which is the direction which is showing to east or west. And they continuously try to navigate themselves, keeping in the compass, aligning with that. So similarly, and they would reach their destinations. So similarly, if we are focused with that destination, then our nature will also get aligned to that. That is the simple principle what Krishna is saying. Therefore, he made Arjuna, your original nature is fight because you are a Kshatriya. Now you are forgetting that your original nature, which is to serve me as a Kshatriya to fight this battle. You wanted to give it up and you want to go to the forest, but you can't survive there. You can't succeed there because you're going to become a failure. Why? Because it is not possible for you to do. And therefore, Krishna said, you do your better do your duty. So likewise for the student, you better do his duty. That is to study, because he's in that course. He has to complete the course. He has to get his grades. So even if he does that in the mood of serving Krishna with aligning it, then he'll become extremely successful. So this is what I have understood and try to follow in my own life as well. Thank you. Thank you for asking that wonderful clarification. Yes. So let's hear from Ongol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna to all the assembled devotees today. Thank you so much, Hasini, for giving us such a practical class today. It was very easy to understand, and the slides also, it was not like that there was so much that's very hard to understand. It was very simple, and you have put your understanding into the slides. You can understand what you have learned and what is there. And thank you so much for making us understand chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. I'm looking forward to all the other sessions also. The first 2 sessions by Sri Lakshmi and Tulsi Gopi, I couldn't thank both of them also. But thank you so much for explaining in a very simple way. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
It's very important for all of us to encourage each other, and that's what is going to keep us in the mood of service, cooperation, and collaboration rather than competition. So this whole exercise is about collaboration and cooperation, and I'm very happy that all of you are trying to do your very best. So if other students or any
I also saw Keshri Mata's hand was raised. Let's hear from her.
Yeah, okay.
I saw your hand was raised. Can you?
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams to all the assembled devotees here. I'm so happy, can't put it in words actually. Such a crystal clear example she put. I'm really very much surprised how these children could take time, and such a difficult topic. No, I remember this Karma Yoga was given to me personally when Sachin Mataji, I think when I joined ISKCON, the first or second day, I think Mataji had allocated to all the members one chapter. But unfortunately, what happened, I was not in town. I had to travel to India for some reason. I couldn't give that chapter. At that time, I was not at all having any understanding, actually. Then, of course, meanwhile, when the days progress and when I did Bhakti Shastri, we got some idea. Now, actually, when we are diving into the subject through Satyamaji's class, we are really understanding how depth is each chapter. And these children are so beautifully presenting it, Mataji. I'm really surprised. I'm very surprised ki the entire chapter, I mean, Tamil or karichu kudichitaanga. That's what they're able to put it in so simple and realized it. And I just, if Hasini would be in front of me, I would have given a big hug to her. Such a beautiful example she has given for everything, right from the tree, how the tree doesn't accept any result but still provides shade to everyone. Though every example as a child has realized it. And I could see her mother's reflection on her because her mother is so deep with Shastric studies. I remember her mother was shared once when she was pregnant with Hasini. Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, elder child was there. She used to keep him on the bike and she used to go to every temple in, I think they were in Kumbakonam or Tanjavur, I don't know, during their early days. And the mother used to carry the child and they used to go to every temple and she used to ask from the priest every stories of the temple, everything. That mothers, I was very much, these things I'm reflecting now. Now, Mataji is not there on the panel, but I'm reflecting how she has imbibed those things in the young devotees. And Hasini and Tulsi were our batchmates in Bhakti Shastri. Those children are truly competent. I'm very happy and I can't put it into words. I'm really inspired in one way. The Satyamaji should put the same 18 days course for all the adults, Mataji. This we must make it for the adults also. Let everyone come forward and do this turning of the studies. And I want all my batchmates of Bhakti Shastri also to be there to join again for this 18 days course, how the children are doing. And I wish all the devotees to join. I don't know, somehow or the other, they all are busy. They should take time, and how these children have set an example. It's such a practical chapter, actually. And you took it so nicely. I remember one thing, Satyamaji and Ramakrishna Prabhuji always insist me, do your work according to your nature. I keep on doing some of the other thing out of passion. And they keep telling me, you start your practice, you start your practice. That is your genuine core interest. That's your nature. They always keep me engaged. And they always put me in such a skill where my skill is utilized. They know it very well. This is what we have to do. When we don't understand our nature, we are just puzzled what has to do. The Guru understand. The Guru, it's a 180-day course. I understand, Prabhuji. It should be 180-day because there are 180 gems in our group. Just 18 gems are not there. There are more than 200 gems in our group. I can, vouch on them. They can present it. And after this wellness program, it is a super duper hit we all can do together. So I'm very happy that our Guru are putting and engaging our skills. And I'm very happy about it, Hasini Beta. I'm so happy, and your parents and the teachers, Satyamaji and Ramakrishna Babaji, superb happy and immensely proud about your effort. The 3 speakers have, chak de fatte. Ekdam super duper ho gaya. And then I'm eagerly waiting for the next 3 speakers. I hope I should not miss it because I'm traveling in another 2 days. May Krishna give me the right time and free time to listen you all. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Pranams.
Thank you, Keshri Mata, for your kind feedback and words of encouragement. And I'm also mesmerized with the way Hasini took through the whole chapter, and also the earlier 2 speakers, both Tulsi Gopi, Sri Lakshmi, and today it was Hasini. And very, very happy. And my sincere blessings and prayers to all of you, all the children. And eagerly waiting to hear from the other 3 speakers, and in fact, the 18-day. Because each one has been allocated 3 chapters. So just waiting to hear those nectarian words from you, all wonderful souls. Extremely happy, Beta. May Krishna bless you all. And if we don't have any further questions or comments, we can end the session. But before that, Hasini, I would like you to do the Vaishnav Pranam Mantra. Anybody else want to add or say anything before we close the session for the day? Anybody has anything to say?
Tulsi Gopi was a wonderful teacher. She gave us some exercises to do on the quiz. And I do not know if Sri Lakshmi had given something yesterday.
No, she could not give. Has Hasini prepared anything?
Yes, Maji, it's a small quiz.
Oh, she has kept something for us. Okay.
So therefore, we are
Okay.
really
Very smart,
eager
Madhu.
to do that.
Okay.
I
She
just
has.
learned from Tulsi's. Tulsi's.
Okay. Carry on then, Hasini. Okay, she has given something. Haribol. Okay, let us try.
Oh, Maji, are you able to join? Yes.
I don't know. I'm not able to join. Last
Okay,
time
okay.
also I
Hasini, I
could not
think
join.
I have
There
to
is some
assign
code.
it.
Hasini, I think you
Yeah.
have to start, yeah, and then send the
Yeah,
code.
1 minute.
There is some code also, right? You have to give the code.
Yeah.
So we'll use this one now.
Yeah.
This link. Okay.
Are you able to join now?
I'm not able to join.
Okay, I'll start it. च कल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपासिन्धुभ्यो एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिने। ये श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
You want to show the results, Hasini?
Like many people were not able to join.
Okay, beta. No problem, beta. No problem. Thank you, Hasini. Thank you once again. May Krishna bless you. And all the very best to your further. You have 2 more chapters. So all the best to you, and all the best to you also for your admissions. I think you're traveling tomorrow. So all the very best to you. Take care. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. And thanks to all the devotees who have joined online today. Have a great day, and request you all to join tomorrow for the 4th chapter in this series. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. So with your kind permission, I will end the session here for today. Hare Krishna.